Yeah.
I mean, this is coming from the guy who thinks the Blue Lin and the Samurai are the same, so, I'll take whatever you think with a grain of salt. Hey everybody, welcome back to Multiplayer Vault, brought to you by Baritone Studios. I'm Sky.
And I'm Evan.
And this is the show where what do we do?
Multiplayer games.
And this is the game, my God. And this is the show where we uncover the stories of different multiplayer games that you may not think actually have stories.
But they do.
But they do. That's right, Evan. Good job. So what are we doing, Evan?
In this episode, we're going to be discussing the world of For Honor.
That's right.
And if you haven't already listened, I'm cutting you off. I don't even care. And if you haven't already listened, go check out the profile episode. It'll make a lot more sense about what we are discussing in this episode, but we can't force you, so go now. But if you don't, I'm not going to be upset.
I mean, it would be really nice if you would.
You're just a view to me, a number.
That's not true. So, Evan, For Honor, neither of us have played it. That's probably the first game we've covered that neither of us have played. I mean, I played the tutorial. I don't think that counts.
I have played this guy. Not a lot, but I have played it.
No way.
Yes way. And just like all the Batman games, I thought it was way too hard for me because I am a simple Minecraft and first-person shooter guy myself.
You mean like the Arkham games?
Oh, they're so good, but like I never.
Isn't that just like a button mashing?
Yeah, I'm not good at button mashing.
Brawler.
I'm also really bad at Smash. Like it's not good. We digress. Anyway,
the lore's cool. That's why you made the show, Evan. The lore's cool, so we're going to talk about it today.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll kick us off with probably something that I think we should do more in these episodes is talk about, what's the theme of these games, We always talk about blah, blah, blah. Oh, this character's cool. Oh, this storyline is neat. I guess we touched on it a little bit, the theme. In, like, the Siege episode, we talked about people coming together in, like, this crime-fighting squad. But, I think we need to do more of that. For Honor, I would say the theme definitely coming from the campaign itself and the villain, what's her name? Apollyon or something like that?
Yep.
The theme is definitely like perpetual violence. Humanity needs violence to survive. What do you think about that, Evan? Do we need violence to survive?
I think it's always been around, and I think honestly it's always going to be around. It's just one big circle because however the saying goes, where it's like easy times create weak men create hard times create strong men. That whole saying, I think it's just a big circle, and I think it's cool that they kind of tied that in to a game where you are playing as multiple factions from throughout history, where they had their own struggles, but in this world, they all kind of have the same struggle, and that is the cataclysm. Cataclysm. Big cataclysm.
Yeah, the cataclysm, like the fly. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't even know.
My dad's a fly fisher, so.
Oh, okay.
All you fly fishers out there, you'll get that joke. It's probably just my dad gets that joke. I don't think any fly fishers listen to this show.
Hi, Sky's dad.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny to me about Apollyon specifically is that in a lot of media, the villain will be sort of going against the grain, Like a lot of times he'll be like, I want to change the world. I want to do better for the world or whatever. In this scenario, Apollyon is kind of keeping the status quo as a villain, because in the world of For Honor, it's just governed by violence and like warrior culture, right? The only reason Apollyon started the Blackstone Legion was because that started to go away, and she obviously didn't like that. And like, look at all these peace-loving hippies. I'm gonna kill them, and she did. In the campaign, you try to stop her, right? But at the same time, what are you doing? You're killing a bunch of people and you're just really perpetuating the cycle of violence.
I mean, she was a very big component in that cycle, in that wheel, and that, she wasn't really looking for leadership. Like, she didn't want to be like, king or queen or, the leader of all these groups. She just wanted chaos and anarchy. And I mean, that kind of showed when she died, and she was just kind of like, oh, well, I'm dying, but at least, my wishes came true, and there's just chaos everywhere.
That's true. I mean, she saw what was happening. People were coming together, being nice to each other, and she said, well, this sucks. I better do something about it. I'm going to start destroying food supplies and making people fight over it. I'm going to invade an entire country, all that stuff.
So, Sky, do you agree then that we as humans can live without violence? Or are you a Apollyon yourself who believes that if that's happening, there needs to be violence that needs to be made?
No. I mean, the thing is that we don't have a real life example of like perpetual peace. I'd say recent history is the best example we have.
I have a theory.
Yeah, what's your theory, Evan?
I have a theory, and it can kind of be disproven with the hit video game series called Halo. However, I'm a firm believer that as soon as we discover aliens, fighting amongst humans, whether it's about race or culture or anything else, is going to significantly decrease because we will be fighting aliens instead.
Yeah, because then we have an enemy.
However, there may be insurrectionists, but
Yeah, just like Halo. Oh my god. Would a future be Halo? So that's fun. Perpetual violence. Are we doomed to undergo constant warfare? I'll let you answer that, listener.
Or maybe if there's a big cataclysm, climate change or whatever else happening, if a huge disaster were to happen, everybody would be on an even playing field.
Interesting thought. So I think we've touched on the theme enough, Evan, don't you think? I think it's time to get off a little less depressing topic than our doomed existence of constant warfare. In your opinion, Evan, what is the best faction in For Honor? Right now there are 5, correct?
Yes.
There's the Knights, the Vikings, the Samurai, the Wulin, and the Pirates.
AKA the Outlanders.
The Outlanders, okay. In your opinion, what is the best?
If we're going based off of the game and not historically and all that stuff.
Obviously. If we were going by historically, all of them would suck.
Yes. I'm going to have to go with the Samurai.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I never pegged you for a samurai guy.
With a close second being the Vikings. And I say that because the samurai in the game are in the mire, and that is known to be like the swampy area. And even within the cinematics, like all the knights, all of the Vikings, when they get to the mire, they're all pissed off because it's all mud and just not good to be living in. And
Big
those
swamp.
those people that live in the swamp in those harsh conditions are going to be a little more adapted to those harsher climates. And same thing with the Vikings a little bit. However, what the samurai have over the Vikings is that, and I think we talked about it a little bit in our profile episode, was that out of the 3, like after the cataclysm, the samurai were the most organized in terms of they weren't killing each other like every year. There wasn't a big civil war. There was still fighting every couple of decades or so, but it wasn't like a constant thing. And so I think in terms of leadership and kind of being organized mixed with, living in the crappy swamp conditions, I think that they're on top. Plus, if we want to throw in historical stuff in there, their armor was like essentially bulletproof. And I'm sure like the knights would be too, but they were living in stone castles and not the swamp. So, it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors back and forth. But I'm going to have to say samurai with a close second being the Vikings.
Okay. Well, I'm going the almost direct opposite of you. I think the Vikings are the worst faction to me. And I'm a big knight guy. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously, knights in history, not really great. Really more like hired thugs than valiant heroes. You know what I mean? But in For Honor, they are cool as heck.
Now, are you talking best faction as in the coolest, or like the most well equipped?
I mean, that's what I was going for. I mean, obviously the samurai are the most well equipped, right?
Okay.
They're the
Okay.
most
Well,
centralized,
if we're going off
blah, blah,
based
blah.
off of the coolest, then mine was also the knights. I've always been that.
Yeah, the knights are just they're knights. What else is there to say?
I always
they got the
play
armor,
paladin.
They got the sword. Yeah, the paladin. They got the swords. Dark Souls, King Arthur, all that stuff.
I mean,
It's
they're
awesome.
all cool. I mean, the Wulin are kind of whatever. I think
I
it's
mean, I think the Wulin have their moments. You know, like the main guy Tiandi is really cool in my opinion. But he's got the cool hat with almost like
Mhm,
the dragon eyebrows. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And he's got the tail on the top. That's cool.
I just feel like they're not as well known in like media culture, and we'll get into that later when I bring up my point about bringing in
Well,
more
you haven't
factions.
seen you haven't seen the Great Wall, then, have you?
No, I have not. I'm
The one with Matt Damon.
no, I have not.
That's a good movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's it's interesting.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go on.
But like outside of Vikings, samurai, and like knights, what other like really well known warrior factions like existed throughout history? And there's always going to be some, but in terms of like in popular media, it's always those three, and I think that's why those three were picked. And so then you throw in the Wulin and everybody else, and it's just kind of yeah. I'll get to that later.
I think of For Honor as somebody at Ubisoft really loves Spike TV's Deadliest Warrior.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, so in what scenario would a Viking, a knight, and a samurai fight? And then
Mm-hmm.
they found no real life historical answer. So they were like, okay, so there's this cataclysm and all of that stuff ensues. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cool. I mean, Deadliest Warrior was funny. We'll just say that. And Spike TV was so funny that they got shut down.
Mm-hmm. My theory is that the concept artist for Assassin's Creed got really angry when they couldn't decide on what direction in history they wanted to go to, and so they all just kind of started fighting the office. And then somebody was leaning back in their chair and said,
Wait a minute.
wait a second."
So are you asking what I think the next faction should be? Is that what you're
I
saying?
guess we can just go ahead and segue into that. So what faction would you like to see personally?
It's funny, this entire time I've just been looking at there's this world map on my wall. It's covering like a big yellow stain that we need to paint over. I'm just staring at it just blankly, just thinking of what people live there, and I'm pointing at like, I don't know, Central America or something. And speaking of Central America, I think people are pretty, if not historically familiar, then definitely aesthetically familiar with like Mesoamerican Aztecs or Mayans, you know what I mean? So it would be interesting if somehow, in the cataclysm, the Atlantic Ocean got all screwed up. I don't know, maybe a big land bridge between America and mainland Europe or Africa or something happened. And, all these Mesoamerican folks came over, and then boom, you got a new For Honor faction.
I in my notes and preparing for this episode, I talked about, and it's gonna be my tangent for this discussion episode, is that
Hmm.
it was great having the samurai and the knights and the Vikings, but when the fourth faction came from China, I was a little like, not saying that historically that civilization hasn't been like really important, really big. I just didn't like that two back-to-back factions came from Asia. We're talking about literally all these different cultures coming together, and it's
But,
already like never really actually happened. So why not
hmm
throw in somebody like the Mesoamerican people? I said Aztec descendants, or even anybody from Africa or the Americas or even the Middle East. I mean, think about the area around Damascus, any of those tribes, even talking about Native Americans from North America, and I guess it could be some of Central, anything like the Mohawk tribe. Like, those are very well known warriors in history in terms of brutality, whatever. Vikings, samurai, knights, they're all known for being brutal and just the best known warriors in the world in history. I just think anywhere else in the world would have been fantastic, but the fact that they chose China and Japan, it kind of irked me a little bit.
Okay, so you have a problem with them taking two Asian factions in a row.
Well, but then they introduced a fifth faction, and it's just pirates. They don't even have an origin. And if you know anything about piracy and like the golden age of piracy, that was mostly around European countries.
Okay, so what I'm getting at. Okay, so you're kind of like over the whole two Asiatic countries or peoples in a row, but Knights and Vikings are both from Europe.
They're from two completely different, like, oh gosh. No, you're right. But no, but they are
Choose your
completely,
words carefully.
but they are completely different in terms of the aesthetic and the culture. Now you're right in that they're both
Well,
from
what?
Europe. However,
Now hold
you
on a
cannot say
second.
the Viking aesthetic is any
In
closely
what
related to the
way?
knight.
In what way does the Wulin look like samurais?
I don't know how you don't see it.
I honestly, I don't. Other than the fact that they're both, Eastern, I don't get it. I don't get what's the connection there.
My point is,
Yes, Evan. What's your point?
there is so much history in what the Western Hemisphere calls the Middle East that I think that they really could have done something
I
special.
think everyone knows what the Middle East is, Evan.
I know, but I took a history of the modern Middle East class.
I know you did. Yeah, it sounded really interesting.
It was I hated the class. It was 4 credits. I was forced to take it, but I learned a lot, and it was awesome. I wish I would have paid attention more and not fell asleep so much because I was a music major. I knew nothing about history, so it was hard. But like the Egyptians, oh, that would have been so cool.
They did add like some weird. It was like some offshoot thing that they did one time. They added like some Egyptian guy, and he had like a double-bladed sword. I remember this. This was like a year ago. I watched a video. Some guy was like, "This new overpowered hero," and he looked very Egyptian.
But no, I would say to kind of get back on topic completely, I would say somebody from either Middle East or Africa or, as you mentioned, Central America / any of the Americas.
We need to loosen up a bit. We've been pretty uptight this episode. Holy Jesus, it's already been 20 minutes. Yeah, we got to loosen up a bit. Let's talk about intermissions. Let's go a little bit behind the curtains a bit. Let's take a couple minutes, talk about intermissions. So intermissions, why we included them. I thought it was something to sort of break up the monotony of some of the longer episodes. Because sometimes in those longer episodes, it can devolve into, and then this happened, and then this happened, and here's this tangent, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, how can I break this up? And then boom, intermission. Wow, came into my mind. And in For Honor, we did, I quizzed Evan on trivia, and that's not going to be every intermission. We're going to do different stuff. You'll see in the future, we've already got a whole bunch of stuff planned. Just something to break up the whole formula, right?
And this is going to be your little baby. I'm very gullible when it comes to these things, so it's fun because I will truly speak what's on my mind and what I do actually know.
Yeah, like the Wulin and the samurai look exactly the same. Those are your words, man.
Exactly. Put it on a t-shirt. You can find it in our new merch shop.
What?
It's not actually going to be there. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It'd be funny, but
It'd be misleading.
the number of people that would actually get that reference would be not worth the time that I put into the design of the t-shirt. If you really want it, just comment, let us know, and I'll make it happen.
I don't think anybody wants that.
I don't think anybody does either.
I'm sorry, Evan.
No, it's okay.
Sorry to put another one of your ideas down the drain. And, keep on keeping with the whole getting loosey-goosey a bit for this episode. I just recently in this episode, I made a reference to a movie called The Great Wall. You had no idea what I was talking about. And in this episode...
you mean like The Great Wall featuring Matt Damon?
Yeah, The Great Wall featuring Matt Damon. Right. In the profile episode, I make several references to Geostorm. And honestly, it's kind of a tick for me. If I don't make a reference to a movie every half hour or so, I'll pop. I'll explode probably. Like a ticking time bomb. Like one of those bombs, in like cartoons where it's the I'm making it like a movie show reference again. In like Looney Tunes where they have the black cannonball with the fuse on the top, that's me.
That's why Chip and Dale was such a field day for you.
Yeah, man, I was going crazy during the bad Overwatch discussion. I was going, whew, man.
All right, I got to cut us off there because otherwise we'll continue on Chip and Dale.
We got to
go check it out.
Now doing a complete 180, the Cataclysm, right? The whole Geostorm without the Gerard Butler scenario. If the Cataclysm were to happen right now, even while we're recording this right now, we're sitting in our rooms. You're sick, hungry. I don't know.
A bear.
What would you do if the Cataclysm happened right now?
I would probably make dinner and, whatever happens. I haven't ate yet, so that's gonna be the first thing on my mind. It depends on how big of a cataclysm we're talking. If it's a capital C cataclysm, I don't think I'm gonna have time.
Oh yeah.
So I'll probably get in my car and try to drive away, but I'd probably just fall into the middle of the earth like in the movie 2012.
I was just thinking about that. I was just gonna say, like, what if the ground opens up into a big ravine and you fall through it, like in 2012?
Well, I do live
Oh
in
my
Columbus,
God.
Ohio, near the Columbus
Are we
International Airport, so I'd probably get in an airplane for at least the first part of it.
No, but also in 2012, there's the scene where they're in the RV and they're escaping the big
The
God
volcano.
wave or whatever, and there's the shot where the airplane gets struck by a big rock coming from the sky.
Well, I'd
And I
probably
don't, I
take
don't
my
think
chances.
that would save you, Evan.
I would take my chances in the air than on the ground, I would say.
Really?
Now, if I could find
Now
a
if-
hang glider, oh yeah,
Ooh.
no fuel.
Like Far Cry?
Oh yeah, oh
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I could get like a double one, both of us.
Oh, a double decker.
A
Oh,
double decker.
You mean like you mean like are you talking like horizontal? Because I was thinking vertical.
I was thinking horizontal.
Okay.
Oh,
Now, if it was me, I would just hide under a doorway. Obviously, that's how you weather any storm.
I feel like that fits both of us though, in that in terms of like the zombie apocalypse and other scenarios like that, like I for the most part have a pretty good plan of what I'm gonna do, and then you're just like I'm
You're
just gonna
doomsday
hide.
prepper?
I am, and my whole family is my whole family's not doomsday preppers, but there are those certain individuals, if you're listening, hello, that inspire me to be prepared, and then meanwhile you're like I'm gonna crouch in the doorway.
Well, that's if it was a zombie apocalypse, obviously, I'd do the good old, like, get your canned beans or whatever, get your preserves.
Okay.
Get
No,
your
let's talk
guns.
about this a little bit, just because I feel
Now
like
we're talking about.
no,
Awesome.
what I'm gonna say is that I feel like the great cataclysm that could possibly happen, in the modern world,
Just like in For Honor, just so we're keeping on topic, the cataclysm from For Honor. This isn't
Yes.
some random cataclysm. This is the
Yes.
meteors coming from the sky, tsunamis
Correct.
overtaking entire cities.
I feel like that it would either be something in terms of like earthquakes or something within the earth, or because of climate change and all that stuff, some ancient disease getting thrown out into the open and then zombies happening. I really do think it's a possibility.
Oh. So
I
you
think that
think
could happen.
in the past there was a disease that made zombies by opening up the earth via the cataclysm. It's gonna uncover you know what? It's like I'm reading this magazine article, this Nat Geo magazine article for an English assignment. It's about this 5,000-year-old man they found in the Alps in like the 90s. So you're saying it's gonna be like that? But instead of like a man, it's a disease.
Well, I'm thinking it's more like that, like parasitic fungus. That have you? I don't know if you've seen them or not. They happen. It happens a lot in bugs. There's like ants, and basically the ant will
Oh,
die.
that's what everybody says when they point to like a real life zombie apocalypse happening.
Yeah,
They're
and I don't think they'd be like
if they
as
evolved to
smart
people?
as. Yeah, I don't think it'd be like World War Z or anything. I don't think it'd be that
no,
intense.
that would be too cool for real life. Real life is never that cool.
Never
Never. Yeah. Only video games can be cool.
in some movies.
And some like The Great Wall, starring Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. So it just popped into my head. If we were in the world of For Honor, which faction would you want to be in?
Okay, so this is different than which faction I like the most.
They could be the same,
Because I don't want to live in a night world, okay? Because the nights are cool and everything, but their place Ashfeld is a freaking death trap. I mean, it's temperate forest. I'm used to that kind of thing, but it's got like acid lakes and stuff. It's just I don't want to live there. And then you think of the Vikings. It's like, okay, you're talking about a warrior culture. That in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking white nationalists love Vikings. So always in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I feel so icky. And then it's also cold and stuff. But then you think of, oh, the samurai, they're decently stable compared to the other two, but then they also live in a swamp. I mean, New Orleans, I guess, is nice. I don't think they have anything like New Orleans in the mire. I'm kind of undecided. What do you think, Evan?
The Vikings.
That tracks.
They have really cool beards. That's it. That's the only.
They have cool beards.
They have cool beards.
Whoa. You know what? Speaking of Vikings, I watched The Northman recently, and I was like, man, this is a cool movie. I mean, it was okay. It was pretty good. I wasn't as wowed as everybody else was of that movie, but I still thought it was a cool movie. I'm glad I saw it.
I need to. It's on my list. I really want to see it.
And I watched it on Amazon Prime, and apparently, I guess Amazon just sold all of my viewer data to Google and YouTube because I was scrolling through, I'm reading articles and stuff, and I see like 3 in a row articles about how white nationalists have co-opted this movie that I thought was pretty good. And I'm like, well, damn it. Now I can't enjoy this movie anymore. But, it just sucks. Mm-hmm. This world sucks.
Yeah.
And For Honor world sucks.
Maybe we do need a cataclysm.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, did you have another last point or something you wanted to discuss?
Did I have another last point? I mean, I was going to talk about the role of religion. Maybe,
same wavelength. It's like we knew what.
Whoa, it's like we knew what we were going to talk about before we started the episode. That's crazy.
Before we get into
talk about the role of religion.
If we kind of use that as a deciding factor in terms of what factions are next, that might actually work better.
Ooh, that's true.
That might actually work better in terms of picking who's next.
Oh. Yeah, so like I was gonna, cause I did my little research, blah blah blah. A little funny joke at the beginning of the profile episode, like what happened 1,000 years ago? And when I wrote it, it was like middle of 2020. Well, no, end of 2022. It was like, oh, what happened in 1022? And I picked out China got 1 million soldiers, and what was the place in Africa? Africa? I think that's what it was called. Got like a boy king or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. Researching like, what religion? Vikings converted to Christianity like 100 years before the cataclysm. And the whole thing about the Knights in Ashfeld were like they were remnants of the Eastern Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense. Yeah.
Which makes sense. At that time, Orthodox Christian. And then in Japan, it's obviously completely different. You got a mix of Shinto and Buddhism.
So what if the next one were Hindu or maybe even, let's say, Egyptian?
We got to get a pagan in here.
Oh, that would be good. I
would some sort of pagan.
I think the Outlanders would have been a lot cooler if they were pagan or something like that, because I just don't feel like they have a good fit into the lore besides just kind of they're just kind of a ragtag group of people.
Well, what's
make it a pagan
about
cult
them, because like you think Viking, all of these factions have a nation behind them. You think Vikings, you think like Scandinavians, right? You think knights, you think like France, Germany, maybe Italy, samurai, obviously Japan, Wulin, China. But then pirates, it's sort of like could be whoever. So I think that's what Ubisoft is trying to get at with the whole Outlanders thing. But pirates could be anything.
Traditionally, though, when you think of pirates, you think of a person with a skull, like
Jack Sparrow.
A mask. You think of Jack Sparrow, which as I mentioned before, was the stereotypical pirate. It's like from the golden age of piracy. I don't remember if it's called like the golden age, but that takes place around Spain and Britain and all those European countries.
Yeah, like
I'm not saying it didn't.
Sir Francis Drake, like that.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I'm not saying it didn't happen everywhere else.
I mean, it did happen everywhere else.
Right.
Wherever there were boats, there were pirates, man.
Mm-hmm. By just the term pirate. Yeah, I don't know. But
well, it's kind of hard to think, how do you fit the sort of stereotypical Sir Francis Drake pirate into this scenario?
You shouldn't.
They didn't exist in the 1000s, They were hundreds of years off. They were trying to open a new dimension with the whole invasion from sea thing. I don't know. I think it's cool. Yeah. I mean, this is coming from the guy who thinks the Wulin and the samurai are the same, so, I'll take whatever you think with a grain of salt. I know, Evan, But it's more entertaining to gaslight the audience into thinking that you said that, and now they hate you more than they hate me, and that's a plus for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I said that. I didn't actually think that.
If that joke offended you, then you're the problem.
I don't know what to think about that. I'll keep my eye on you, Evan. I think...
It's been 40 minutes.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we're done.
Ooh, before we're done, last thing.
Oh, here we go. Last thing.
I'll say
What do we
that
got, Evan?
if you go onto YouTube or really anywhere, I mean, you can play the game. That might be the better place to find these. I do enjoy that the game gives you a lot more cinematics than a lot of other multiplayer games do. And they're really good quality. I really enjoy them. I think that if a movie was made with this kind of quality, and I think that with a lot of other game franchises and stuff too, like it would be pretty cool.
And there's something to be said about how unique the game is, you know?
I think it's a little bit of...
It's like a 3D fighting game.
I think it's just kind of like what you think of when you kind of throw all these really cool fighting... I mean, that's what it is. You throw all of these different warriors from throughout history together, and what if they fought? You know, just...
Deadliest Warrior.
Deadliest Warrior, exactly. It's just the stereotypical, what if a Viking had to fight
Who would
a
win a
samurai?
fight? Death battle. Blah,
You know,
like that kind of thing.
Yeah, lunch in middle school type thing.
And that's why the For Honor movie should be made by Spike TV. Bring it back from the death. What? Bring it back from the grave.
Christopher Nolan, I'm telling you.
Christopher Nolan, bring back
Fantastic.
Spike TV.
Mm-hmm.
Get the main cast of the Deadliest Warrior back. Make the For Honor movie. It'll be awesome. And that's the end.
That's all I got.
Bye, everybody. I'm
Wait.
Sky. What? Oh my God!
No,
We've
I'm
tried
just...
to end this like 3 times.
No, I know. I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you go to our YouTube channel, you go to any of our socials, we do have a
that's
new...
probably a good idea.
We do have a new merch shop. That's our Spreadshirt. Just look up Baritone Studios Spreadshirt. It's hard to find. If you can't find it, there's a link in all of our socials for the most part. There's also a new thing we have for donations and also some membership tiers. You don't get anything quite yet. However, if you still would like to just either donate one small amount or give us that little bit of monthly contributions to help us make this content, we do have a Baritone Studios Buy Me a Coffee. Like I said, you do not have to give us anything, but every little bit helps, and it kind of gives us the encouragement that maybe there are people out there in this cruel, sad world that do enjoy what we make here. So consider it, and if not, that's okay.
Yeah, Evan's entire validation is based on a transactionary basis. So, if you could just give him money, then he'll have the passion to do whatever he wants to do.
I mean, that's how it works with my parents. They give me money. That's how, they give me money. I say I love you.
Yeah, when my parents bribe me for my love, that's when I love them.
Yeah, this guy gets
real nice, Evan. Real nice. All right, I'm Sky.
And I'm Evan.
Yeah, okay. This has been Multiplayer Vault. See you in the next episode, which will probably be Apex Legends. Bye.
All right, I am done recording now.